وكذلك أوحينا إليك روحا من أمرنا ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان ولكن جعلناه نورا نهدي به من نشاء من عبادنا وإنك لتهدي إلى صراط مستقيم صراط الله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض ألا إلى الله تصير الأمور.
Remember, just remember, Allah sees it all.
Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. All praise due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on the last messenger of Allah. Welcome, dear viewers, to another in our series, In the Names of Allah. In this series, we're looking at the names of Allah, the names which Allah revealed for us to understand Him, and for us to be able to worship Him with clarity. These names have relevance not only to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself, Allah the Almighty, but they also have relevance to us as individuals in terms of how they should be reflected in our lives. We worship Allah through them, with them, and our lives should reflect them where there is relevance in the names themselves, where there's relevance in the sense that we could possibly apply them. We looked at the greatest name of Allah already, Allah. We said there is no relevance in terms of us applying. There is nothing. We cannot be Allah. We cannot imitate Allah. So there's no place for that. Allah, that name which encompasses all of the attributes, is something inappropriate for us as human beings. Whereas Ar-Rahman and Ar-Aheem, which are the second and third attributes which we're looking at in this segment, we began to look at in the previous segment, it does have an element which is relevant to us, and we are going to be looking at it. But we will continue from where we left in our previous episode, which had to do with the vastness of Allah's mercy. And we spoke about what Allah said concerning His mercy, covering everything, and the Prophet ﷺ talking about how Allah created the mercy in 100 parts. One part is sent into this world, 99 is saved for the believers on the Day of Judgment, and that one part is so comprehensive that it stops the wild animal from devouring its own child or from trampling its own offspring. We raised the question at the end of the last segment. If Allah's mercy is so great, and as the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, said, that he wrote in a book on himself, obliging himself, that his mercy would precede his anger. If that is the case, then why will some people remain in hell forever? Where is Allah's mercy there? We said that Allah's mercy actually even includes people of hell. And we mentioned the hadith of intercession, which Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said, and this is found in Sahih Muslim. He had said that Allah will Himself intercede after all of the intercession has taken place by His permission, intercession of the angels, intercession of the messengers, intercession of the believers. I guess there will be intercession also of the Quran, and a variety of other elements of Allah's creation where He has permitted them to intercede as an honor on that day. Then after all of the intercession is completed, and the only thing left, as He said, was the most merciful of the merciful, then He will take a handful out of hell. And from them, He will take some people who had never done any good. They'd never done any good. And He would throw them into a river known as the river of life. And they would sprout. It's on the outskirts of paradise. They would sprout, grow the way that seed grows in silt, and they would enter paradise. But these people will be among the believers, those who had expressed sincere belief in Allah. That belief might have been weak and had not permitted them to do a lot of good deeds, etc., etc. In fact, they were without deeds, external deeds, but obviously they had that basic internal deed of the heart, and that is of belief. They would be extracted. So what of the others? Those who didn't believe. Why doesn't Allah take them out also? Well, the question that we have to consider here is that Allah's mercy is also tempered by His justice. Though it precedes His anger, it is tempered by His justice. Because if the reward for belief and disbelief were the same, because if we're saying in the end, the people, everybody's coming out of hell. So everybody's going into paradise. Whether you believed or you didn't believe, the same. Whether you rebelled against Allah or whether you're obedient to Him, all the same. So, then where is the justice? That would be unfair. People in this world had submitted themselves, and really there's no reward for that submission, because in the end they're going to hell, as the disbelievers are also going to hell, the rebellious disbelievers. So what we're saying here is that when we speak of the mercy of Allah, we have to look at it within the context of His justice. And His justice is so much so that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ's own father ends up in hell. Not because Prophet Muhammad ﷺ knew him, because he died before he was born. The fact of the matter is, when a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him about his own father, and the Prophet ﷺ told the man that his father was in hell, and the man was upset, the Prophet ﷺ told him at the same time that his own father is with him in hell. This is in Sahih Muslim. And it was put under the title of a chapter in which he wrote, "He who died in a state of disbelief will be in the fire. Intercession will be of no avail to him, and the relationship of his favorites would not benefit him." That's the reality. Imam Muslim mentioned this hadith after, about the father of the Prophet. Then he also mentioned another hadith in which Aisha related the Prophet ﷺ, after the verse, "And warn your next of kin," in Surah Shura was revealed, the Prophet ﷺ went and stood on Mount Safa and announced, "O Fatima, daughter of Muhammad, O Safiya, daughter of Abdul Muttalib, O sons of Abdul Muttalib," that's his grandfather, "I have nothing that can avail you against Allah in the day of judgment. However, you may ask me what you want of my worldly belongings. In this world, you can ask me whatever you want. But on that day, there is nothing that I can do for you." So, if Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is in that situation where he can't even help